When we're looking at professional athletes or elite athletes and their body demands an excessive range of motion, for example, a pitcher in baseball, and one of the things we want to notice is, do they have this increased laxity to be able to get the range of motion? Do they have control over it? Are they able to accelerate it? Are they able to do it with normal muscle contractions? Or have they lost so much stability in their ligaments that now the muscles have to compensate? And if their muscles, or they have pain, the muscles get inhibited, now they have a real instability problem that could lead to further injury and damage to the rotator cuff. And remember, the shoulder is very delicate in that sense. It doesn't have a strong, inert structure. It doesn't have a strong capsule. It's a very loose joint because it's meant to be a joint of dexterity, not a joint of stability or rigidity like the hip is. And so once that elite athlete that has that extreme range of motion loses control from pain or from a little injury, they actually are more susceptible to more severe injuries if they don't take time off to rehabilitate that before applying those extreme stresses. So when we're looking deeper into motor control of the organization of head, neck, and shoulder, we want to know what normal movement looks like. Good integration of the upper extremity and head in all of our movement activities. The scapular stability can be defined by maintaining the congruency of the glenohumeral joint while providing the appropriate amount of stiffness with the anticipated load. Now that probably sounds a little familiar to you by now, because that was the same definition we gave you stability in axial elongation and core control. Appropriate amount of stiffness for the anticipated load. The only difference is that now we're maintaining congruency with that humeral head through a range of motion. So that goes back to that dynamic organization of that scapula and clavicle and the rib cage and thoracic spine through that desired activity or movement that we did. It also is the ability to maintain that scapular neutral position when appropriate. So can we maintain that good organized posture of our shoulder girdle in all of our activities? A lot of times when we're teaching Pilates, we'll see people holding onto the dowel and they'll just naturally go into a poor loss of control of that scapula. So one of the things we want to look at is, can they maintain that organization throughout the desired movement that we're asking them to do? So when we look at faulty movement can pretty much be defined as a loss of congruency. We could also look at over-recruitment to execute a movement, and that's what I was talking about, the novice learning to ride a bike, or if you think about the first time you learned to drive a stick shift and you were over-recruiting your muscles and shaking because you didn't know how to use less. So one of the things we often talk about is using as much as necessary, as little as possible. This is the formula for efficiency. And remember, I said the organization of head, neck, and shoulder is the eyes into the window of efficiency of movement and how we organize ourselves. This also can be thought of in faulty movement as a structural limitation. So sometimes we just see tight muscles and insufficient thoracic mobility and fascial restrictions in the pectoralis minor or the trapezius muscles that need to be addressed by a professional. So as we're looking at that difference between strategy and structure, right? Do they have the ability to correct the organization of their shoulder in their movement by your cueing? If not, they might have a structural problem that needs more attention that you would have to refer out to a professional. When we're interested in acquiring new movement, particularly in the organization of head, neck, and shoulder, here's a couple little rules that help me when I'm teaching. Number one, the relaxation of the jaw, the sternum, and the face. If you can just sort of feel the softening of the face, get rid of the tension inside the jaw and the masseter, feel the softness in the sternum and the face, is going to make a big difference in how efficient your movement is. Number two is increasing the lateral width of the shoulder and the thorax. This was the cue I said of making it seem like a smile across the front of the shoulders, but also across the back of the shoulders. We don't want to be overcompensated in flexion or retraction of those shoulders. So nice, even spreading, making those shoulder points as wide apart as you can from each other. The third one is optimizing the space between the ear and the shoulder. So if we find our shoulders creeping up towards our ears halfway through the day working on the computer, we need to go back and send those shoulders away and send our ears up and create that space and the length in the cervical spine. The last one is to maintain all of those three things through all the movements. So if I'm doing a roll down or a roll up or a rotation, that I would maintain that space between my ear and shoulder, the width across my shoulder, and the relaxation in my face, my jaw, and my sternum. Motor control and cervical pain syndromes is another area of great interest. A lot of people complain of headaches and cervical pain. And some of the things that happen is that we actually, just like in the spine, when we have pain, those deep local muscles that support our head actually become weak and inhibited. And so we fatigue and we fall into bad posture, and the big muscles go into spasm and start creating headaches. Neck aches, shoulder aches, so the trapezius muscle gets too tight, the suboccipital muscles go into spasm, the sternocleidomastoid pulls the head into a little bit of a posterior tilt. And these are common things that we see that we don't treat the right way. You know, if we just teach them to have good posture and to get their shoulders to open and the back of their neck to lengthen, their eyes to be horizontal with their gaze, that we can actually solve a lot of these problems in the long run just by simple postural corrections. So what we really want when we're looking at the organization of the head, neck, and shoulders, when we're looking at this chronic neck pain and headaches, is to think of activating those deep local muscles, just like we do in our spine. We call it co-contraction. And that's going to actually be just by posturally challenging ourselves to sit tall and maybe do a little exercise I call paint the ceiling, of just moving the head a little bit as if you had a little paintbrush coming out of the crown of your head. And a little bit of a tilt forward, a little bit of tilt sideways. If you do that every time you go to the bathroom, another little advice tip that I love to give my clients is when you sit in a car and you adjust your rear view mirror, right? And you look in that mirror and you notice that about 5 minutes later, somebody moved your mirror up. Well, nobody really moved your mirror. What you did is you sunk down and you put yourself back in that vulnerable position for spasms to come back in the base of your head. My suggestion is, rather than adjusting the mirror, adjust your body and sit back up in your chair in the car and start practicing using those deep postural muscles as often as you can. When you're sitting in a chair at your desk, practice sitting up tall rather than slouching in the chair. It's okay to take a break and to rest, but as soon as you get back to work, sit back up tall on those sit bones, lengthen the back of that neck, get your body organized, and practice as many of your activities as possible with good posture. There's an old saying is that we are what we practice. And if you're practicing good posture, you're going to notice things like those suboccipital and musculoskeletal headaches disappearing and the neck aches feeling a whole lot better. The last thing that I want to talk to you about in this section is bioenergetics. Now we know that all of our energy passes through these areas, going up into our head, going into our shoulders. The meridians of acupuncture pass through our shoulders. These are called the mu points. And whether the loss of posture came first, and then we started having congestion in those mu points, or that we actually had some problems with our lung, our gallbladder, and some of those meridians before, and we lost our posture, is not what's important right now. What's important is that to restore the normal function is to improve our posture, to reorganize our shoulder girdle head, and to improve the flow of qi and energy through those meridians that are found in our chest, our neck, and our shoulders. These are all important aspects of improving the quality of our health. When I go to my acupuncturist, she often is putting needles in a lot of different places. You've probably been to an acupuncturist yourself. And what I realized is that in order for that energy to flow, we have to draw it into those different meridians. When we have lost our posture, there is no way that that energy can flow fluidly through our body and into our extremities and into our organs. So my suggestion on the bioenergetics, again, is good posture makes for healthy living, healthy organs, healthy energy flow, and build up our immune system and even the way that we think and the way that we see ourselves in the mirror. It's amazing how important our self-efficacy and our self-esteem can be built by something as simple as posture. I'll finish off with this one. If you ever notice that when you're in a slouch position, it's very hard and unnatural to smile. It's not a natural feeling, but it's very natural to frown. However, when you're sitting in a good position, the smile is incredibly natural, and a frown is actually really awkward. And that is because we are designed to be happy, and the first requisite for happiness is health and posture. So as we organize that head, neck, and shoulder, we're going to see the world better, we're going to hear the world better, we're going to feel better, we're going to be happier, we're going to smile more. When we lose that posture, just the opposite happens. And so one of Joseph's philosophies is that that first requisite of happiness is health, and that happiness allows us to move efficiently and spontaneous through our daily activities with spontaneous vigor and zest.